hold a small Norman village at the foot of the ridge.
I remember being in a place called Saint-André-sur-Orne. They had reported that there were 64 German tanks in Saint-André. We said, well, that means there's probably 8 tanks. We tended to divide about 1/8 of what they reported. So we thought to be safe we'd send in 12. It was raining and I couldn't see very well. Very hard to make anything out. We got in there and by God, there were 64. There were tanks everywhere.
July 9th, 1944. After 34 days of fierce fighting, battered British and Canadian forces finally enter the heavily bombed Norman city of Caen. 9 days later, they are ready to continue their advance and link up with U.S. forces routing the German army in southern France. But German forces in the north are far from defeated. 8 kilometers south of Caen, they dig in along Verrières Ridge with masses of anti-tank guns and hundreds of tanks. The ridge is now one of the strongest defensive positions in France. July 18th, 1944. Combined British and Canadian forces launch Operation Goodwood, aimed at driving the Germans off the ridge. On the western flank of the attack are the tankers of the Sherbrooke Fusiliers, with orders to seize and hold the village of Saint-André-sur-Orne.
They had reported that there were 64 German tanks in Saint-André. We said, well, that means there's probably 8 tanks. We got in there and by God, there were 64. There were tanks everywhere. And we couldn't get organized to take them on. And there was a lot of people getting knocked out. It was raining and I couldn't see very well. Very hard to make anything out. We seemed to have lost touch with everybody. We decided we better try to find a safe position and some targets. We found an excellent position. There was a stone building on our right, so we were covered from view and from fire from the right. You could hardly see us for this hedge. There were 9 Panthers out about 1,000 yards or so, side on. I had taken one last look out of the turret because I'm still having trouble with the mist and rain and whatnot. And a Tiger tank came around the corner of the building, saw the position, thought, that's a great position. And they pulled in to stop right in front of us. It was just the scariest damned apparition I've ever seen. Just loomed up like that. We were almost touching one another. So I had an AP up to the spout. I fired that and hit him. It just bounced off. And after that, we just fired a high explosive as fast as we could. About that fast. I was literally just holding the firing button down. The gun was firing, recoiling, running out, firing, recoiling, running out. And my loader operator was flinging the shells in, and then he fired back.
The Tiger weighs 57 tons, almost twice as much as a Sherman. It has 100 millimeters of frontal armor, making it almost impregnable. It carries an 88 millimeter gun that can destroy a Sherman more than 2 kilometers away. And this Tiger is practically on top of Lawrence's tank.
There are no words that can convey the incredible violence of that strike. The AP shell that hit our turret, it looked as if someone had taken a torch and just burned the channel front to back. I said, you know, drive in reverse, hard right. And our co-driver was driving, and he wasn't a very good driver. And he went to go into reverse. He revved up the engine. The real driver grabbed the hand throttles, and then he just grabbed the gear shift lever and rammed it into reverse, and he yelled into the face of the co-driver, let out that clutch and get the hell out of here. And so we went shooting back.
The Sherbrooke Fusiliers lose half their tanks and are forced to retreat. Other units suffer similar losses and pull back. Operation Goodwood is a disaster.
The British sent 800 tanks across that open ground just south of Caen, and 400 of them were knocked out. The Germans were up on the Bourguebus-Verrières ridge and were able to see for miles and miles. And along those miles, the Germans were entrenched in farmhouses, hidden away with their big guns, able to see everything that moved, able to cover the whole area with their 88 millimeter, their famous anti-tank guns, which were anti-aircraft guns, supposed to fire at aircraft 20,000 feet up in the air, but firing at us 200 yards away.
On the 21st, the offensive against Verrières Ridge is called off as the enormity of the losses sinks in. In just 4 days, the Allies lose over 6,000 men and more than 300 tanks, and the Germans still remain firmly in control of the ridge.
Now, our task was to go up that hill and find a way in which we could get through those German lines, which are now reported to be possibly one of the strongest defenses that the Germans set up anywhere in World War II.
The Allies are desperate for a breakthrough. Canadian Lieutenant General Guy Simonds comes up with a bold and risky plan to take the ridge. Codenamed Operation Totalize, Simonds' plan calls for 400 tanks to quickly advance in 6 columns straight into the German defensive positions. And to reduce the effect of the German big guns, he will launch the attack at night.
If one asks, what did one see? The simple answer is nothing.
July 21st, 1944. After taking enormous casualties in 4 days of bloody fighting, the Allies canceled their massive armored offensive, aimed at eliminating the stubborn German defenses along Verrières Ridge. Lieutenant General Guy Simonds comes up with a new plan. The Allies must take the ridge because a breakthrough is key to the overall campaign in Normandy. Codenamed Operation Totalize, it calls for 400 tanks, supported by infantry, to rush forward in 6 columns, headlong into the German guns. To reduce the effect of the guns, Simonds plans to strike under the cover of darkness. A nocturnal armored operation on this scale has never been tried before,